is similar to what Abraham asked his Lord in the following verse of chapter 2. Abraham said, "My Lord, show me how you revive the dead." God said, "Do you not believe?" He said, "Yes, but I wish to reassure my heart." God said, "Take 4 birds, study their marks, place a piece of each bird on top of a hill, then call them to you. They will come to you in a hurry. You should know that God is Almighty, most wise." I am using this example due to the fact that Abraham was the founder of the 3 major monotheistic religions of today: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So dear viewers, this is to reassure the hearts of the believers, and by doing so, it will disturb the disbelievers. Convince the Christians and the Jews that the Quran is a divine scripture. Straighten the faith of the faithful. To remove all traces of doubts from the hearts of the Christians, Jews, as well as the believers, and to expose those who harbor doubt in their hearts. And finally, there is one last part of history that we need to be aware of before I commence the earth-shattering, simple to understand but impossible to imitate mathematical composition that will prove the existence of God and challenge the greatest mathematicians on earth. This is the history of gematria. This was and still is an alphanumerical system that is applied today, but the positional base 10 system became more dominant and more commonly used due to its simplicity of only having digits from 1 to 9 and 0 to remember, instead of an assigned number to every letter of the alphabet. Now, the positional base 10 system was originally discovered in India with the help of Persian mathematicians. Then it was introduced to the Europeans by the Arabs. Thus came the term Hindu-Arabic numerals. The Arabs also introduced the knowledge of how to make paper, which was originally invented in China, but the Chinese did not want to divulge such information. So the Arabs took it by force, and the Arabs taught it to the Western societies and brought algebra, which is another huge step in intellectual advancement for the future. The Europeans discovered the printing press, thus giving the Europeans accessibility of history, mathematics, and other types of acknowledgement for lower cost due to mass productions for the people. Since the Quran was revealed at a time where the positional system did not exist, I am going to apply both numeral systems, which will also prove that the Quran adopts to every era. So let's do a quick analysis on this. On the left side, we have the Greek alphabets. In the middle, we have the Hebrew alphabets. And on the right, we have the Arabic alphabets. And for those who speak Arabic and who are watching this, you might notice that the alphabetical order is not in the sequence in which you were brought up today. This is because it has been modified recently, and the one we have here was the original order. As you can see, it's called the Abjad system because of the 4 first letters, which is A, B, J, and D, or Alif, Ba, Jim, and Dal. This was also the Arabic numerals when the Quran was revealed and after. The alphabetical order is nearly identical to the Hebrews and Greeks. Their numerical values are also identical, and this is because of the trading, which was and still is the best way for the economy to advance. Thus, the major communities had a universal means of communicating with their currency, which coincides with their alphabets. So, for example, if the Greeks wanted to exchange 40 apples for 40 oranges with the Arabs or Jews, the M sound is what they used to describe the number 40. I picked these 3 languages because they are among the 3 major monotheistic scriptural languages. And I will also be demonstrating the importance of applying these alphanumerical numbers with the Quran, and here is an example of a simple calculation. Here we have the word wahid, which is the equivalent of the word one in English. Now, we can see that the wahid, which is waw, alif, ha, and dal, which is W, A, H, and D, has a value of 6, 1, 8, and 4. If you add this together, it gives us 19. In the year 609 AD, the Quran was revealed to the final prophet Muhammad in specific orders of revelations of a 23-year time frame. I will present to you here the first 5 revelations in its chronological order in 5 simple parts. The first revelation, embryo, al-alaq. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Read in the name of your Lord who created. He created man from an embryo. Read, and your Lord most exalted teaches by the means of the pen. He teaches man what he never knew. This is how the first revelation ended, and this first revelation consists of 19 Arabic words. The second revelation, the pen, al-qalam. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Nun, the pen, and what they write. You have attained a great blessing from your Lord. You are not crazy. You have attained a recompense that is well deserved. You are blessed with a great moral character. You will see, and they will see, which of you are condemned. Your Lord is fully aware of those who strayed off his path, and he is fully aware of those who are guided. Do not obey the rejectors. They wish that you compromise, so they too can compromise. This is how the second revelation ended, and this second revelation consists of 38 Arabic words. The third revelation, cloaked, al-Muzammil, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. O you cloaked one, meditate during the night except rarely, half of it or a little less, or a little more, and read the Quran from cover to cover. We will give you a heavy message. The meditation at night is more effective and more righteous. You have a lot of time during the day for other matters. You shall commemorate the name of your Lord to come ever closer and closer to him. Lord of the East and the West, there is no God besides him. You should choose him as your advocate. And remain steadfast in the face of their utterances, and disregard them in a nice manner. This is how the third revelation ended, and this third revelation consists of 57 Arabic words. The fourth revelation, the hidden secret, al-Mudaththir, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. O you hidden secret, come out and warn, extol your Lord, purify your garment, forsake what is wrong, be content with your lot, steadfastly commemorate your Lord. Then when the horn is blown, that would be a difficult day, for the disbeliever is not easy. Let me deal with the one I created as an individual. I provided him with lots of money and children to behold. I made everything easy for him, yet he is greedy for more. He stubbornly refused to accept these proofs. I will increasingly punish him, for he reflected, then decided. Miserable is what he decided. Miserable indeed is what he decided. He looked, he frowned and whined. Then he turned away arrogantly. He said, "This is but clever magic. This is human-made. I will commit him to retribution." What retribution? Thorough and comprehensive, obvious to all people. Over it is 19. Alayha tis'ata asha. In retrospect of Revelations 1 to 4, there is a mathematical pattern of multiples of 19. The first revelation contained 19 words, which is 1 by 19. The second revelation contained 38 words, which is 2 times 19. And the third revelation contained 57 words, which is 3 times 19. The fourth revelation brought the number 19 itself. Alayha tis'ata asha. Over it is 19. As we can see, over the Quran is in patterns of multiples of 19 so far. And now, the fifth revelation, which is the first chapter, and revelation revealed completely with the 19 lettered opening statement as the first verse, which occurs throughout the whole Quran, as seen below. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Each word in this occurs in multiples of 19 throughout the whole Quran. And now, the earth-shattering, simple to understand but impossible to imitate mathematical composition that will prove the existence of God and challenge the greatest mathematicians on earth and stomps them. It is far beyond human capabilities. This is Chapter 1, Revelation 5, Al-Fatiha. The key. This is the chapter in which every Muslim recites during their daily contact prayer with God. Since this chapter was revealed completely, I am going to do a full mathematical analysis over it, and every component in it are in multiples of 19. You might be wondering, why 19? After the mathematical examination of this chapter, the question to why 19 will be answered. So let's start with the verses. As you can see, there are 7 verses in this chapter, and I am going to concatenate each verse in its sequential sequence, thus forming one long number. In between the highlighted red lines, you see chapter 1, verse 1, 2, 3, all the way to 7. Why am I indicating this golden number 1 is very important, because I need to show you which chapter I'm using instead of using chapter 28 or 29. There's 114 chapters in the Quran, and 114 is also a multiple of 19. So as you can see, this long number, which is another way of seeing it, 11,234,567, is a multiple of 19. This is telling us that the verses after 1400 years has not been changed, and also that you cannot add another verse nor remove a verse due to the fact that it will no longer be a multiple of 19. But this does not mean that a letter was not added or removed throughout the years. Therefore, I purposely separated each letter in every verse and counted its total right here. So you can see that every single letter in every verse has been counted. And by doing this, we have the sum of letters for every verse. Now I'm going to substitute each verse with the total sum of letters that correspond to it. As you can see on the highlighted red lines, the number verse 1 is going to be substituted for its number of letters, 19, in verse 2, and so on. Again, I am concatenating the letters per verse, which is again giving us a gigantic number, which is a multiple of 19. This is telling us that the total sum of letters in correlation with these verses are protected with this basic principle of being in multiples of 19. Meaning that the sum of letters in correlation with these verses had not been changed since the past 1400 years. So if anyone were to add or remove a letter, not only that it won't make any poetical sense, but it will be exposed. But the human being is a clever creature, and the possibilities of changing a word for its synonym with the exact same amount of letters is possible. And that can mean there is a flaw. For example, if I say, every good boy does good, to every good boy does fine. The word good and its synonym fine, which has the exact same amount of letters and similar definitions, can be replaced. You can replace the good for the fine, thus giving it a possibility of being modified without being noticed, which means it can be corrupted with personal opinions and poor knowledge. Therefore, the numerical values of each letter in Arabic that I introduced to you earlier about will now play a significant role. So you cannot change a word for its synonym. Hence, it's giving the numerical values of each letter its importance of being applied to conserve each word without any distortion, leaving it in its pristine purity state. Here is an example of how to calculate the sum of each individual letter with its numerical values per verse.